You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Tuesday morning. I don't know why I couldn't get it straight there. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. Want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. Be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Quinlivan.
There's no way you got that correct.
I mean, I feel like my chances are low.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
Let's Quinlivan. Quinlivan.
It's going to be wrong. Somebody's going to message us and tell us we're wrong.
That's fine.
Where is this place? Where is it located?
Pike County.
Pike County. I would have no clue.
Just down south of Macomb.
I'm not
not an expert in that area.
Frequent visitor of Pike County unless I'm going to Louisiana.
I have a friend who listens. He lives in Magnolia. He'll let me know. He will.
Me
a text, and I promise he'll be as brutal as you can be. He'll be like, "You idiot."
Not far from the Leonard Skinner crash site.
That's right. Yeah.
It would be weird if they had a Brupolo there.
It would be a little weird.
But you could have one there for the
tourists,
patrons that are coming.
People who come to pay their respects.
To give their respects. That's right.
Wherever you are in our great state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's just a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. Ooh, that smell. The smell of coffee is around you. There you go.
Yeah.
Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it is what's for dinner. If you're cooking out this weekend, nothing beats the sizzle of beef on the grill. We are into we're in spring forward. That means we got a long day of daylight. Get out there and fire up the grill. Enjoy this great spring weather that we're having and do it with beef. But if you don't want to, nobody's going to say anything. Just go park yourself at one of our awesome steakhouses in the state of Mississippi. We have one in every city. You can't miss a great steakhouse, and you can't miss helping our beef farmers here in this state. Guys that's $500 million a year in agribusiness. So every time you buy a steak, you contribute to that and helping out our great state. Beef, it's what's for dinner, thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com. That's the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you're looking for. You certainly are going to be looking for it. You need new gear. I mean, this weather, it's changing every day. It's cold, it's hot, it's raining, who knows? So get something for every day. You got a polo for when it's nice outside. You get a hoodie or a pullover for when it's a little cold. Maybe you get a big jacket for when it's freezing. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, Robbie, you know this as well as I do. You've lived here long enough. We got another one coming, right? It's March 10th. By the time but in the next month, we will have another weekend or something where it's 25 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting closer and closer, but I do feel like there's a cold snap coming.
It's coming.
At least for a couple of days.
The last gasp of winter will happen.
Yes.
Prepared at College Corner. 2 locations in the Jackson area, originally by Fleet Feet, Flowway by the Half Sheller. You can shop online, collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant for lunch or dinner, Sunday brunch, the best meal in town, always at Restaurant Tyler. Robbie and I do love a lunch at Restaurant Tyler. We love the blue plate. We love fried chicken, fried catfish, meatloaf, hamburger steak. We love it all. And we'll eat it all. And we have been known to eat it all. So you need to be just like me and Robbie. In that instance only. Don't do the other things that we do. Go eat at lunch at a Restaurant Tyler. If you're going to be in Starkville anytime soon, that's the best meal in town. Priority One Bank, 16 locations to serve you throughout central Mississippi. Let PriorityOneBank.com be your guide. They'll show you not only how to help you manage your money and invest, they're going to help you prepare for the future. Now more than ever, when you have questions about your money, you need answers. You need to get them quickly on your schedule. You need to talk to people who not only know your money, but know you as well. That's the level of service you get at Priority One Bank. If you live in Central Mississippi, you live near a Priority One Bank location, let Priority One Bank make you their priority. Just moments ago, as we're recording, Josh Hubbard named the 12th winner of the Howell Trophy from Mississippi State in the awards, 21-year history. Back-to-back awards for Hubbard. Well-deserved, but we were talking prior to the show, Robbie, and I was talking about Hubbard saying, do we think that he can be a guy who steps up for Mississippi State and plays better? Because I just don't feel like he's been as good this year as he was a season ago. And you immediately cut me off. You're like, he's actually been better. And you were going through his stats. And you said you saw where I was coming from. You said, maybe he doesn't feel that way. But statistically, he's having a better season. This is one of those things where the numbers and the eyes don't really match up. So I guess what my question to you is going to be is this. Can he be even better in the postseason? Because I feel like this is where Mississippi State needs its star. Because I can't rely on Kugel. I can't rely on Claudel Harris every week. I can't rely on Melendez. You can't really even rely on Cam Matthews. Keyshawn Murphy is kind of reliable. State needs Hubbard to find another gear, another level to his game if they want to have the postseason they want to have. Can he do that?
Yeah, I mean, he can. He definitely can hit that point. For one, you got a guy that has been here before now. He went into the NCAA tournament last year, got in his experience there. He played 3 games in the SEC tournament. He's a big game guy. I mean, if you look at some of his best games he's had, it's been some against some of the bigger teams. And I get where you're coming from, where, I see a lot of people saying that Hubbard's having a bad year. He just has been bad. Some people during the game the other day were saying he was terrible and he was clueless and things like that. And I get that at times it looks like he's, struggling from the field or whatever, but his shooting percentage is up overall. It's down slightly from 3, shooting 34%. He shot 36 last year, but he's averaging a point more this year. His assists have gone up tremendously. So far, he's got less turnovers than he did all of last year, and he's got 42 more assists. So he's become, to me, a more well-rounded player. But you are going to get games like this from Josh Hubbard where he shoots 3 for 12. That's just – when you got a shooter like this, that's what you're going to get. You're going to have some games where he just is off, and he's had that this year. He's also had some games and definitely some segments of games where he's just, been unconscious. And it's just one of the things that you just have to live with it. When you have players like Josh Hubbard that come through your program, you got to live with it sometimes. And, to your point, can Mississippi State win with him, kind of taking over? I think they're a better team when they disperse their scoring and they disperse, their production across 5 or 6 guys. The other day they had 6 guys in double figures. The offense was not the issue at all.
No, not at all. Yeah.
And so I don't think that this team has to win the way that they had to win last year with Josh Hubbard scoring 30 points. I think he can score 14 points. It doesn't happen very often, but I do think that he can have a game where he's not, scoring a lot of points, and you can win. He did it against Ole Miss. He scored 10 points against Ole Miss the first time they met. He scored 9 points against Vanderbilt. And in those 2 games, I thought State, they got a lot of production from other guys. I think they're a better team when he's not trying to take over a game and not trying to score a lot of points. But at the same time, I think Mississippi State is better when he's efficient, when he's able to take care of the basketball, distribute, he's hitting shots. It's kind of a weird situation, but he was 3 for 6 from 3 against A&M, 6 of 10 overall, and State won that ball game with several other guys stepping up. I think I don't know if Josh Hubbard is going to be the reason Mississippi State, makes a run. I think he will be a big part of it, but I don't think it's going to be solely on his shoulders, and especially not on the offensive end.
Yeah, the defensive end is a whole different. I'll be honest with you at this point. With State, and we're talking about the defensive end, I don't have any expectations. I feel like if State's going to win, they're going to have to win by scoring points. And they're just, they're going to have to win games 85, 81, maybe 88, 84, something like that. I just don't have any faith in this team at this point to go out and get stops on a consistent basis. So, and then, why should I? At this point, we're at the end of the regular season. I feel like the numbers are kind of are what they are on that one right this second. You look
and the
at
problem with that is, like, they can't outscore people.
Yeah.
Even when they're scoring in the 80s and 90s, like, they're still not outscoring them. Like, they've got to hold teams in the 70s and below to win games. I mean, it's proven at this point. You beat LSU, they scored under 70. A&M scores under 60. Ole Miss scores 71. Georgia scores 75. South Carolina scored 60. Ole Miss, that game went to overtime, but they scored in the 80s. And then Vanderbilt 60s, South Carolina 50s. If a team scores in regulation, over 80 points, Mississippi State is not winning those games.
Yeah.
Even if they're scoring in the 80s, they're not winning. So for this team, they've got to, and I don't know if it's got to be a matchup, if they're going to have to find a team that just really struggles to score in the 80s. But that's kind of the key for this team. 3-point shooting defensively and limiting those teams offensively just overall, keeping them in the 70s and below. That's the only way Mississippi State wins at this point. They aren't finding ways to win those games where they're outscoring teams. Yeah. So that's the conundrum that you have right now with them.
States, when you look at Hubbard, so you remember going into the South Carolina game, we were like, he's slumping a little bit. He's not playing his best basketball. The first conference game, he had a great game. He shoots 54% from the field. He had 21 points in 22 minutes. He was really, really good in that game. Going just off shooting percentage the rest of the way, Vanderbilt, 33%. Kentucky, 31%. Auburn, 16%. Ole Miss, he was terrible in that game. He only had 10 points, as you mentioned, 15%. 31% against Tennessee. 26% against South Carolina. So he went through a really tough stretch. The Alabama game is where he kind of shook that off. Now, State lost that game, but he shot 50% from the field. He had 38 points. Next game, 54%. Next game, 50%. Then the rest of the way, he's had some ups and downs, but for the most part, he's been pretty consistent. And he's been able to get to the free throw line a lot more. If you go back, he had 12 free throws against Auburn. Then he went a long stretch without only taking 7 free throws, no more than 7 in a game. Since then, A&M he had 11, LSU he had 11, and Texas he had 10. He was able to get to the free throw line, so if his shot wasn't falling, he's still getting to the line. And of course, he's a great free throw shooter, so that's usually automatic points.
That's what great players do. Great scorers get their points.
You're at this point with Hubbard, all you're really asking for, and it's a lot. It can be considered a lot, but it's 2 more made shots a game. State would have a lot more wins if he had 2 more made shots a game. They would have beaten Texas. They would have beaten Arkansas. They would have probably beaten Oklahoma. They probably beat Alabama here. They probably beat Kentucky here. I mean, that's and I'm not trying to put it all on Hubbard. Those 2 shots could have come from anywhere. But here in March, I feel like this is where superstars have to step up a little bit. I remember last year going into March thinking I could see Hubbard becoming one of those March darlings, those guys that are like, every year there's a guy in March who everybody, sort of gravitates towards because he's making a lot of shots. And I thought Hubbard had a chance to be that. State's, obviously was cut out early from the tournament, losing in the first round. I'd like to see if he could do that this year. I don't feel like, he's the star. He's the star of the team. He's the guy that, when you talk about Mississippi State, that's it. The scouting report starts with him. And it's been a tough go for him this year because he's been asked to play the point so much, and that's just not his natural position. That's not where he wants to be. He wants to be playing that 2 guard and coming off of screens and getting open and shooting the 3. And State's had to put him in this role because they haven't had any choice. Kanye Clary going out, and they just haven't had the ability to have a distributor up there at the top of the offense. So
I just feel like
go ahead.
I feel like this is misplaced.
Okay.
The blame on Josh Hubbard.
I'm not trying to
blame on the offense at all. I just I can't blame the offense anymore. And maybe we can say it's Josh Hubbard's defense. Maybe he's not a good enough defender.
Well, what I would say is that the team is not good defensively. So if they're going to win, they have to win with offense. And so that's where I'm looking at.
But what I'm saying is they're not, even when they're doing it offensively, they can't win. They're not getting stuff. You got to do something on defense.
Right.
I mean, just saying that, they got to do it with offense doesn't really play, because they scored 92 points and had 2 turnovers the other day and couldn't win. At some point they had to get a stop and they couldn't get one.
Yeah, but they didn't shoot the ball particularly well, even with the 92 points.
They didn't, but they still scored 92 points and only had 2 turnovers.
They did, but had they shot, what?
No, I can't say had they done this anymore. It's all on the defense at this point. I can't keep blaming the offense for anything. If you scored 92 points and had 2 turnovers, you should win.
We're not on the same page here. I'm not blaming.
We're not on the same page. I don't believe you're saying that the offense should have done more.
I'm saying if the offense had done more. I'm just saying they didn't shoot the ball particularly well. They're not a good defensive team. If they're going to win games, they have to win with offense. I cannot at this point sit there and say.
What else could they do, Brian? What else could you ask the team to do? What else can you – I can't sit here and scream at the team to make more shots when they got 92 points.
They shot 43% from the field.
It's the defense's fault. You're going to miss shots.
I understand it's the defense's fault. But the
bottom line is they scored 92 points. However they get there. If they shot 25% and scored 92 points, they scored 92 points. They gave up 55% shooting to this team and got out-rebounded by 8, I think. That's why they lost the game. We're trying to make this team get 100 points a game because they can't play defense, and that's just impossible to do.
Well, then the season's going to be over in 2 games because they are.
I mean, it probably will, but it's not going to be because of the offense.
But that's the only way they can win at this point is to somehow find more made shots. I mean, that's the only way they can win.
They are not going anywhere unless I agree with you, but we're just, at the end of the day, they're not going anywhere if they can't get stops.
Well, they can't get stops, so they're not going anywhere.
Then what's the point of having this conversation? Let's just not have the conversation. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
What was the one thing I said before we started this show?
I told you I can't promise you anything.
I said don't get mad.
I told you I cannot promise anything.
Look at you. You're all worked up now.
I'm not worked up.
No, I disagree.
I'm not worked up.
I disagree.
I'm just saying the defense has – we're in agreement, I think. The defense is Mississippi State's – it's the end of the season or it's the beginning of a run.
Right.
They've given up 74 points a game this year.
That's ridiculous.
And that's including, non-conference.
Yeah.
So it's just it has been and will be Mississippi State's undoing for this team. And I don't know what else. Yeah, I agree with you too. Like there were so many, I think we talked about it on Monday. There were so many opportunities for this team to score even more points.
Right.
But it's like, at what point do you say, we can't blame the offense anymore?
Right.
When you scored 92.
I feel like I'm not trying to blame the offense. I'm simply saying I know they can. The offense had enough opportunities to win the game. They did everything they needed to do except make the shots. They shot 43.8, right, against Arkansas. Against Texas, they shot 39.7. Again, if they shoot against Texas what they shot against Arkansas, they win the game.
But I think you're looking at it from a totality standpoint and not in those certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what happened at the end of the Texas game. You get the score right before the end of regulation. You go into overtime, and what happens? You immediately give up a 3-point shot right out of the overtime. Arkansas, you got the lead. You got a 2-point lead in the final minute. They never got a stop. So while I get what you're saying when they shot 36% or whatever it was, at the end of the game, they weren't missing. And they were in position to go win the ball game.
They missed too many shots early in the second half.
that in the first half too, I thought there was a chance to get maybe 10 plus more points.
Probably
They just couldn't finish.
so.
But
You got me looking here. Oklahoma
that's the issue.
39.7.
That's the issue, though. Like that's the problem is you leave yourself no space to have mistakes on the offensive side when you can't defend.
Right.
We end up coming up and saying, well, they missed this 3-pointer. They missed this dunk. Keyshawn Murphy missed the dunk against Alabama. That's the stuff we say. But they scored 80-plus points against Alabama.
Yeah, looking at Alabama, they actually shot 50%. That's one where I'm willing to say they did about all they can do offensively.
But everybody blames Keyshawn Murphy on that.
I agree. And that's misplaced. It's misplaced. But what I would say is these last 3 losses, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas, offensively, they were good in those games. They should have been better. They missed. You can't shoot 39%, 39%, 43%, especially when going into the game, your defense is going to give up 85 plus points. You just know that. You got to be better offensively somehow. And I know you're saying that they've done enough. If they had done enough, they would have won. They shot 39% against 2 of those teams, and they shot 43% against Arkansas. What I've learned from this discussion we're having,
they've averaged like 90 points in those games,
and they've been in position to average 110 if they could just shoot.
That's impossible to ask a team, Brian. We can't ask a team to score over 100 points in a game.
I'm asking this team that's getting enough opportunities to score that many points. I'm not asking them to shoot 60% from the field. I'm asking them to shoot 45%. 45%
oh, that
shooting.
Should be easy. Yeah, that's easy to do consistently. This team has never been a good
State.
We're going to have to move on to the next topic.
I'm
never going to agree with you that this team should be doing more offensively.
What I've learned in this discussion with you today is that if the football team had been what we thought it was going to be, we would have been arguing like this all year long because they would have lost games because the defense was terrible. And I would have been saying offensively, they got to do a little bit more. And you would have been saying, no, you can't say that when the defense is awful if the starting point of the discussion is your defense is awful, how do you win games? By scoring more points.
But you have to stop the other team too. They're not doing that.
That is the first thing I said. The defense is awful. They cannot get stops. You cannot rely on them to get stops. How are we going to win? We got to score.
State is middle of the pack in the SEC in scoring, and I think everybody is happy with that. Like if you're like Mississippi State, Chris Jans has been since he's been here. This offense has been terrible, and they're averaging 80 points per game.
Yeah,
which is
from a shooting percentage standpoint.
And you look at the teams ahead of them. Florida's averaging, 4 or 5 more points than them at 5th in the SEC, and everybody else is the best offenses in the country.
Right, but then
you look at the defense, and they're 12th.
Yeah.
So it's that to me is like you can't have a defense that's giving up over 70 points per game and expect without being Alabama or Kentucky or something.
Yeah.
You can't expect your team to just consistently have success.
State's 7th in the league in scoring, but they're 12th in shooting.
Yeah,
all that tells me is that if they were shooting a better percentage, they would have more wins. If they had shot 43% against
Texas, sure they would, but this team is never going to win big with a defense like that. It's just not.
Well, then, we'll cover 2 more basketball games this year. And that's just
I'm sure we probably will. I mean
they might beat LSU.
At all. I don't agree with that at all. I think they can beat LSU.
They might beat LSU.
They've done that.
But they have.
That's never been my expectations to cover more than that. I don't know what you're getting at. I'm
trying to find a way. I'm trying to discuss a way that this team. It started with, can Josh Hubbard?
I don't believe it's going to happen. We've been talking for weeks about this defense and how bad it is.
Yeah,
with the being at State, I don't think they're going to make a run.
Okay. Well, I've tapped out on the defense possibly improving. I feel like here at the end of the season, I can give up on that idea. Well, I thought that when they beat Ole Miss, I was like, they played pretty well defensively in that game. I thought maybe they could start to find a little bit. And then, they had the game against A&M where they had 17 steals. I was like, all right, maybe this team is starting to figure some things out defensively here at the end, and they can be better. And instead, they played some of their worst defense of the year on the final stretch. And so I felt like they were worse defensively from the A&M game on than they were even prior to that.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
here's what I'll say. Here's a point I'll agree with you on.
okay.
The State cannot be this bad defensively defending the three and this bad offensively shooting it.
Yes.
That's what's killing them is
so
they're giving up three-pointer. They're basically trading a missed three for a made three more often than not, or twos for threes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you shoot. They're 14th in the league in 3-point shooting, and they're 15th defensively. Being bad at both of those is why this team is where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I will concede that to you. If this team was shooting 33%, 34%, and they were like 9th or 10th in the league, then I would say that this team has a chance. But they're bad at both.
And that the other side of that coin is I feel like the chances, because they miss open shots. They miss a lot of open shots. So they're running
everybody hits open shots against
exactly. They run the offense, they get the look they want, and it doesn't fall. That feels like it's more easy to correct than the defense is not getting corrected. It is what it is at this point. I feel like it's just that the numbers should balance themselves out in terms of shot quality, that these wide open looks should fall. And if I can get 2 more made buckets a game, I can win more games. You would have more wins if you got 2 more made buckets a game. So that's where I'm
just like these threes. State's a solid offensive rebounding team. Well, you miss those wide open shots more often than not. You're giving up rebounds.
Yes,
and you're having empty possessions, and you're taking away momentum. So, that part of the offense I think is the biggest issue for them. But other than that, it's hard for me to say the offense has to be better, because I think that this defense is just going to kill them down the road.
I wish football had played out the way we thought it was, because these would have been some fun debates to be having with you.
We would have been happier covering Mississippi State football this year, like being high flying and competing against some of the better teams offensively.
But what I'm saying is State loses a game 55-49, right? And I come on the show and be like, the offense has got to find a way to get those extra 7 points. And you're going to be like, they got to find a way to stop giving up 55. And I'll be like, they can't stop giving up 55. So it would have been some fun debates with you. But it didn't matter because they couldn't do either. So
I'm a defensive guy. What can I say? If you don't defend, you don't win.
Speaking of, I know you're defense, Steel Curtain. Just saw a tweet. Steelers reporter backtracks from initial Aaron Rodgers report. So maybe you can breathe a little there.
I just got Darius Slay.
I saw that. Yeah, congrats. A good pick.
I'm pumped about that.
Fit. All right.
We just lost Preston Smith, so he was one and done.
Pittsburgh Post-Gazette sports writer Jerry Dulock posted a report Monday afternoon indicating a deal between Rodgers and the Steelers was imminent, citing multiple sources. In the since-deleted post, he reported blah, blah, blah. There's a screenshot. About 20 minutes later, Dulock deleted the post with no explanation. An hour after the report was filed or posted, Dulock filed an article with the Post-Gazette reporting the Steelers are in discussions with Aaron Rodgers, but a deal is not imminent.
He'll end up signing, and
maybe will this be? Maybe we can get you out of this one. We'll see.
I don't know what's going to happen here, man. Like the characters they're bringing in.
It's interesting. Very un-Steeler-esque. Some of these players.
George Pickens and DK.
Only one ball.
Be a disaster probably, but I mean, at least they got talent.
Yeah. So, well, it doesn't matter if they're not better defensively.
You're exactly right.
I'm just messing with you. All right, let's move.
I need the Steelers to be the Steelers on defense, just like I need Chris Jan's defense to be Mississippi State. Chris Jan's defense.
We'll see what the Steelers. I don't think Chris Jan's defense is showing up anytime soon. All right, let's move into the rest of the show. That's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoke Meats and The Older Brother, 2 of Starkville's best restaurants right there in the Cotton District, 2 of Robbie and I's favorite places to go in town. Whenever people are coming into town, they're like, hey, where should we go eat? If you text me or you text Robbie, you definitely should hit Two Brothers Up. You should hit the older brother up. And we aren't telling you that just because they're our sponsors. We're telling you that because that's where we like to eat. And we eat there as often as we can. And you should too. If you're going to be in Starkville this weekend for baseball, Two Brothers Smoked Meats, the older brother, make sure you make an appearance at either one of those. Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years.
They need to hold the team to 50 points.
Good luck with that. But it's not luck with Advantage Business Systems. It's 50 years of experience, 50 years of service, 50 years of taking care of their customers. That's how they've stayed open for this long. You can't stay open that long if you don't take care of your customers. So you know that when you buy a copier, you buy a printer, you buy a computer from Advantage Business Systems, you know that if something goes wrong, you just got to call them back and they're going to get it fixed for you. A lot of times the same day because they're in Mississippi, just like you. 601-362-9192, or you can visit them online, absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. Before you are in Indiana Double Field this weekend, before your next trip to Davis Wade or to the Hump next year, a trip to Maroon & Co. needs to be on the docket. You need new gear. You are in Starkville. There is no better place in Starkville to get new gear than at Maroon & Co. They have the biggest and best selection of anybody in this city. Maybe even in the state. I mean, you got to think. I mean, in Starkville's got to have the biggest and best MSU selection, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. If you are in Starkville and you need MSU gear, go to Maroon & Co. And, of course, use our promo code Thunder15 to save 15% off regular price. Some exclusions do apply. For your next trip to a Mississippi State game, make sure you make a trip to Maroon & Co. All right, State down on the coast for baseball this weekend. 2 games in this annual it's not really a tournament. It's just there's 2 teams that come to play state. It's not a round robin. They don't play each other or anything like that. As of this moment, it's 2:00 on a Monday as we're recording. State has not announced its starting rotation, or its midweek rotation, we should say, for this game. But you and I talked about it yesterday. I think for sure Stone Simmons gets a start here. And then you mentioned Charlie Foster or Jacob Pruitt maybe in the other one. That feels right to me. Do you have a preference there? Do you want Stone Simmons against Old Dominion? Do you have a preference on which day he starts?
Maybe Stone on Tuesday and Pruitt on Wednesday.
Okay.
That would keep Pruitt. I mean, I don't know if it really matters, but he pitched Wednesday last week too. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if that matters, but and you might could flip it to get Pruitt back on the weekly track of getting back on Tuesday next week. I don't know, but I don't think it really matters. I don't know much of anything about either one of these teams, anyways.
Yeah, you're gonna have to forgive us for not having an in-depth scouting report of Old Dominion or Nicholls State. That's on us. We haven't done that research. We apologize for that.
Old Dominion played Auburn this past weekend, right?
And they won the series, I believe.
Did they win the series?
Did they? I know they took
just won one game.
Let me see. Let's see here. This is such riveting radio when we do stuff like this.
Well,
we need answers. Where are we here? Loss, win. No, they took one. They took one game. So obviously, like I said, they've played some SEC teams. Looking at Old Dominion here, if I can. Of course, Auburn's website wouldn't give me a link. Yeah, not like the
thanks,
guy.
John.
Yeah, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate your tech savviness over there. Are you a fan of this whole? I like the idea that go down to the coast, but are you a fan of 2 midweek games the week you start SEC play?
Nope. I don't like 2 midweek games.
I don't like 2 midweek games at all, but certainly the week before you play your starting conference play, that's a tough bill.
And they've done that last several years. I don't like 2 midweek games. I don't like 4 games on a weekend.
And to give Chris Lemonis, he's talked about that, and this is the only week this year I believe State has 2 midweeks. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and usually he does. I don't think he's a big fan of it either. Mm-hmm. And I know, you remember when he took over, State was playing those 4-game weekends, like round robin stuff.
Yeah,
Cohen did that.
Cohen, huge fan of that. Yeah,
he did not like that at all. And they do this, but I think a lot of that is giving fans in Biloxi 2 nights to come see Mississippi State.
Correct. It is entirely done for the fans. Yes.
Yeah. So, it is what it is, but I think State has enough depth in this team that they should be able to go over there. It really just depends on probably, how they take care of business in those games. If they come out and get a big lead, you don't have to worry about it at all. You can pitch younger guys or guys that you're not going to use a whole lot on the weekend. You can play a lot of those guys off the bench. I think we're going to see a lot of faces in these games both nights and go from there. But ideally you come out of this and you don't have to fight to win those ball games, and you can get out of there with 2 easy wins, and you're healthy and you're ready for the weekend, because it's a huge weekend. This is a very big start to the conference schedule, taking on a team that's in the top 15 in Texas, and first time Texas, I believe, has been at Dudy Noble.
If they have before, I do not remember it. I mean, I don't think they have. So that's
at least for sure at this stadium.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I do not recall that the oldest
Texas ever coming in for non-conference back in the day.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It happened like early '80s, something like that. I don't know.
And I know they haven't played in like a regional state or anything. So
no. You got me going through my Rolodex up here. I don't know. Texas has not been to Dudy Noble Field, to my knowledge. So yeah, that's a historic weekend, and it should be a lot of fun. All right, we'll have a lot more to talk about baseball-wise on Thursday's show, because we're doing the rumblings tomorrow. We'll catch up with that, and then Robbie will be in Nashville to get ready for the SEC tournament, and we'll see how long he's going to be up there. I guess we'll get that all figured out.
It won't be longer than Thursday.
You don't think?
Not because of Mississippi State, but because I got to come.
You're just coming home at that point. I got you.
Well, we got a big crowd coming to Mathiston this week.
Oh, I know that. I just thought maybe I was wondering what you were going to say. If hey, State makes a run and you're still there on Saturday. I didn't know what we were going to do, but we're good. We're good.
I'm going to have to sacrifice that one for the team.
I hear you. That means tomorrow is the rumblings. Get your questions in now, Robbie. If you want to fire off the tweet, we'll get everybody set up and answering your questions on tomorrow's podcast. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.